step we grow. Places we have been to, places we have seen, places we still haven't been to, places we still haven't seen, places we are seeing. Forward we move, every day we thrive. Onward we go, with every step we grow. Things we are living, things we believe, those we are believing, those we're still going to believe, things we're still going to live. Forward we move, every day we thrive. Onward we go, with every step we grow. Onward we go, forward we move, every day we thrive. On the highway of life we drive. Things we love, love we give, the life we live, love we receive. Forward we move, every day we thrive. Onwards we go, every step we grow. On the waves we flow, in the wind we fly, on the roads we tread, on the path we ride. Forwards we move, every step we grow, every day we thrive. Onwards we grow, with every step we grow. People we meet, people we have met, those we still going to meet, those we have lost. Forwards we move, every day we thrive. Onwards we go, with every step we grow. For the pain we endure, the love we procure, the road we pursue, things we go through, and those through which we grow, the fellows we follow, for those we cannot follow, and do not call fellow. Forwards we move, every day we thrive, onwards we go, with every step we grow. Far is where we have come, far is where we are going, here is where we are, there is where we go. Forward we move, every day we thrive, onwards we go, with every step we grow.
Hi.
Oh, that's a very beautiful poem. Is it a poem or is it spoken word?
Yeah, it is a poem. Wow, that I recited.
Wow. Did you
Yeah,
write
it's
Yeah,
very
it
nice.
yeah,
from
it's my original.
meditation?
Oh, well,
Wow.
yeah, you can use it for that. Yeah, it's motivational.
It's
It's yeah.
I mean, it's very deep. Where did it come from?
Well, it just I wanted to write something that summarizes our life as human beings, um, everything we do and everything that we go through and how we were able to overcome the obstacles that we meet on our way. And yeah, so the poem just talks about our everyday life in just one poem, like yeah, yeah. So that was the idea. It was just
So
reflecting.
was it a collection of people's experiences, or this is all just your experience as an African trying to find or rewrite your story?
Well, it's first me, my experiences and what I've heard from people and friends, people around me, family, and yeah, everybody. I love learning people's stories and yeah, and sharing them. So yeah, it's just my whole experience with people and with myself as well.
Yeah,
It's so
it's beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
very, very beautiful.
Thank
Yeah,
you
we
very
are
much.
blessed.
Uh,
So Voice One Africa is blessed with lots of beautiful talents, and in fact, our continent is, and we are proud to be associated with all of you guys here. And so, with this, we're going to start our conversation for tonight. Today is the 28th of May, and it is the International Menstrual Hygiene Day. And as part of it, Voice One Africa is celebrating this day, and we are coming out to speak about the issues. And actually, we're speaking about menstruation, a word that is so unpopular. Yeah, it's shrouded with secrecy and stigma and all kind of things. And today, we want to kind of demystify and speak openly about this phenomenon, menstruation. So since 2014, 28th May has been dedicated and designated as Menstrual Hygiene Day across the world to promote good menstrual hygiene management practices and awareness of the challenges that women and girls face during menstruation. Right, so that's all we're going to talk about today, and I'm excited. All right, so we have some wonderful people here, our panelists, and they're going to just introduce themselves. I have Petro. Petro is just speaking now. Petro, please give us a brief introduction. And so this discussion is going to be both in French and in English. And for our French discussants, we have Petro. We also have Eric Nakuma. Yeah, so they will be speaking both in French and in English. For our benefits. All right. Yeah, Petro.
Bonjour et bonsoir, chers amis. C'est un
Bonsoir.
honneur pour moi d'être ici ce soir et de pouvoir parler de ce sujet qui semble être tabou pour certains. Yeah. Donc, je suis vraiment excité et je serai content de participer et apporter aussi ma contribution. Good evening, everybody. My name is Petro. I'm a Congolese self-taught poet, born in the DRC, in the southern parts of the country where Swahili is spoken. I'm now residing in South Africa, Cape Town. So I'm looking forward to an exciting and also rewarding conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Annie.
So I'm Annie Kapolio, and I'm from Zambia, Ndola to be precise. I'm studying to be a public health nurse, so I'm very excited. And just excited to share Zambian experiences, our myths, and our culture with everyone. So it's going to be great.
Awesome. And then we have Genevieve.
Hi, everyone. I'm
Hello.
Genevieve. I am from South Africa, and I'm also a poet. I write and perform my own poetry, and I am studying law. I don't want to become a lawyer. And I'm just in anticipation. I can't wait to hear what goes down tonight.
That sounds awesome. And Genevieve is going to share one of her pieces with us. It's going to be awesome. So let's stay tuned. And we have Kakra Dansoa from my homeland, Ghana.
Hello, my name is Mary Dansoa Danso. I'm from Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah's country. And I'm happy to be here. It's such a privilege to hear all that we all have to share. It's even more exciting because now we are talking about it from the African perspective, sharing our individual countries' background and history all together so we can really see the way forward. And then menstrual health is something that is not going away. It's unfortunate we only discuss it on this year. As a matter of fact, it should be an open discussion every Saturday. But we will have to find a way of sustaining the topic so we are not hypocritical to talk about it on just 28th of May. So yeah, I'm glad that we are all here today, but I really hope that the conversation is open for as long as women still menstruate. So yeah, I can't wait to hear what we all have to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Kakra. All right, so we're going to zoom right into it. And we want to start with the guys, right? So what do we know about menstruation? I see Davison Mwanza here from Zambia as well. Davison.
Yo, what's up?
I'm great.
Actually, I'm just here to listen.
I know, right? But what do you know about menstruation?
Yeah.
What do you just tell us something? Whatever you know about menstruation, how does it happen? What's it about? You know.
Nothing. This is new.
It's new to you.
Actually, I'm ready to you guys. Exactly. That's a new word.
Seriously, so you don't know anything about menstruation? Okay, so let's hear from Petro. Petro, yes. Can you help us? Please redeem the gentleman.
Ok. Bon, ce que je sais sur la menstruation est que c'est un phénomène physiologique. C'est un phénomène en rapport avec le corps qui est un phénomène tout à fait naturel que connaît les jeunes filles et les femmes à partir de l'âge de puberté jusqu'à leur ménopause. Et il y a aussi beaucoup de tabous autour de la question. Raison pour laquelle nous sommes ici pour en parler. So, what do I know about menstruation? All I know is that it's a natural phenomenon that happens to women and girls from a certain age until they are menopause. So, yeah, there's a lot I don't know. So I'm here to learn.
That's interesting. Yeah. So I guess we're all here to learn. What I know, let me also share my experience. So what I also know is, I think in terms of the age ranges, I think now ladies as early as 9, 10 years start menstruating. Yeah. So
Yeah.
even here,
So
here
early.
in Ghana, indeed, here in Ghana, we started a campaign and we sort of targeting those in primary 4, which is like 9, 10 years old. Yeah. So ladies, let's hear from you. We also know that averagely 28 days, but of course it could span from 21 days to the 31 in terms of the cycle. And would like to hear a little from the medical, since we have some medical practitioners here, from the medical perspective, just a little highlight. We know of PMS and stuff like that. So Davidson is here to learn. He doesn't know anything about menstruation, so please. So who's going to help us? Annie, what can you share with us on this?
All right. So basically, I agree with what everyone has said. So menstruation is simply your body preparing for fertilization. And when that doesn't happen, your body sheds off what it prepared. So the thickening of your uterus, and it sheds off in the form of blood. And it happens monthly, but cycles differ, as we know, 28 days to 30, it varies. And also the days that people menstruate also vary from 3 to 4 to 5, some even up to a week.
That's good. Tawana, what would you want to say about this? I know everybody's experience is quite different. And when I was on campus, I used to hear about ladies who menstruate in their palms. I've never really seen it, but sometimes people say that maybe she menstruates in her palm and palm becomes red, and that's all that happens. And I think that will be on the medical side. But I mean, generally, I'm not saying you should speak about that. But what's your what do you want to share?
I equally agree with what everyone said. So menstruation is just when the lining of the uterus shades with other materials. So yes, it comes in the form of blood. This is when a woman bleeds from her vagina, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there's quite a number of myths that come with menstruation, like the whole palm theory you just gave.
It's a myth, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I would
so
like to hear about the palm theory, though. I don't know anything about it, so.
okay,
I'd
so
like to
Annie,
hear.
can you help us about it? What I heard on campus is just like a lady menstruating in her palm. So she doesn't actually shed blood from the vagina. It's the palm becomes red, and usually they end up in the hospital for some days or weeks or something.
Haibo.
Yeah. Annie, yeah, what is it? Yeah, I don't know, but that's what I heard. What do you think about it or know about it?
I think this myth is just surrounded about people being uncomfortable with the whole issue of bleeding and then bleeding through a vagina.
Yeah.
So how do we make it more, less uncomfortable for people who are uncomfortable about vaginas? It's weird because palm,
Yeah.
Actually,
Biologically, it doesn't make
I would
sense.
I would like to come in. Coming from a perspective of an all girls school background, we had different stories about menses, and we actually did have a case of a girl who said she menstruated in her palm. The blood did come out of her vagina, but during her menses, her palms will swell up and they'll be red. So that was what they call the menstruation in the palm. It would get so tense and swollen, she couldn't touch a thing. And it just happened around her menses. Wow. So yesterday, we had a conference yesterday, and the doctor said it sometimes even happens to some women, their feet get swollen and it becomes unbearable to walk. So it's not necessarily as though the blood oozes out from their palm, but they have some sort of symptoms that directs some pain to their palm. And that's what they call menstruating through or from your palm. Wow. So it's not necessarily a myth, but it's just some women experience extreme pain in their palm and some reddening of the palm or the feet. And then they term it as palm menstruation. Yes. So it's actually a thing that happens, but it's really not, it's not that common, but yes.
Okay.
That's just my experience with it. Yeah.
Okay. Petro, could you help us?
Yeah, donc ce qui a été dit jusque-là est que il y a des cas très rares, très isolés où certaines dames, certaines filles voient ils voient ils subissent disons des peines qui se manifestent peut-être dans d'autres parties du corps qui ne sont pas les parties que nous connaissons. Il y a que non, la menstruation, je ne sais pas s'il y a des gens qui ont des douleurs, je ne sais pas, dans leurs pieds ou les mains ou je ne sais pas. C'est ce qui a été dit. Nos amis ont partagé leurs expériences et notre frère de Joe a parlé de son expérience aussi à l'école avec les gens qu'il a interviewés et c'est un peu ça que nous avons dit jusque-là. Oh, merci.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So at this juncture, what we're going to do is we have a poem from Genevieve. She's going to share that piece, and then we will dive into further discussion around the subject. All right, so let's give it up for her.
Okay, and I will make a disclaimer. This poem was not written by me. It was written by Lise Khomkize, who's a fellow poet that I know. So I'm just giving credit where it's due. And I chose this poem because I felt that it is fitting what we are talking about. So can everyone hear me?
Awesome, we can.
Okay, cool. I don't know if Petro will do translations in French.
Not for the poem.
Okay. All right, here it goes. So it's titled The Period We Do Not Talk About. No, baby, your body is not hurt. A girl has died inside of your body. She is simply bleeding herself out. She needs to live this way or the blood will rot inside of you. And you will smell of a dead girl even when you are a woman. This is how you can be both alive and a ghost all at once. No female wants to smell of a dead girl, especially when she is a woman. This is the period we do not talk about. For as long as I can remember, menstruation in my family has always been narrated this way. Menstrual blood is dirty, we are told, to stay away from sharks disguised as innocent boys. Sharks love blood, but not you. And your blood will be the reason why sharks are attracted to you. So if you ever get raped, it is your own fault because menstrual blood is dirty. It is polluted with chipped pieces of your heart. That is why it has to leave your body. Even the walls around your vagina cannot contain it. Every month, for 7 days, I am bleeding another woman out. My circumcision period does not end. How do you expect me to stay the same? And why do boys not bleed like we do? Why do they not bleed into men? These boys that climb mountains to find their hidden manhood, sometimes only to lose it in the streets. I wish someone could have said to me instead, no, baby, your body is not hurt. You are bleeding from a wound that does not heal. Stop stitching up your womanhood, covering it up with band-aids and apologizing as if bleeding makes you hurt. This is the period we do not talk about.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, the period we do not talk about. And I think it's going to just launch us into our discussion. So
Yeah.
I'll begin with a question. Why don't we talk about the period? That's the opening question. Our ladies can help us best. What's the difficulty? Yes, please.
I think it differs obviously from family to family or village to village or culture to culture, but in my culture or where I am from, it's not spoken about because it is this, I don't know if I should say it is this shameful or disgusting. I can't really like point out what it is, but it's something that's not spoken about. And if it is spoken about, it's there are so many blankets or layers used. We call it ukuya exesheni. It means directly translated. So that is in isiXhosa. Directly translated means going into time.
Okay.
So from where I'm coming from, that's why we don't talk about it. I'm not really sure whether it's shame or disgust, but it's somewhere there.
Somewhere related. Yeah, but I think that's good. Any more issues? Why the reticence? Yeah, Annie.
All right. So here in Zambia, most tribes, I agree with Genevieve. There's a certain shame or secrecy surrounded on the issue, but also it's pride. It's a sanctuary around it. The men shouldn't know about it. It's your own little secret. It's what makes you a woman. And I feel like for many years it was something that was supposed to be kept away from the men, because the men were not supposed to know that women are bleeding or women bleed. And then also there's an aspect of you are not supposed to tell anyone when you came of age, because your parents or the older women in your family were supposed to present you as a person who has come of age for a possible suitor from a family that they thought was respectable or things like that. So that's the aspect from where I come from.
So there's a cultural element there. From the Ghanaian perspective, Bohima is here and Danswa is also here. Danswa, let's hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I think when we say it varies from culture to culture or tribe to tribe, that's very true, because how the Ashantis will treat puberty in Ghana is not the same way as the Kobos will treat it. So in Kobo, for instance, there's a lot of pride attached to it. So then if you're a woman and you have your first menstruation, they parade you through the town so that everybody will know that you've reached womanhood. And then in some tribes, like Northern and Ashanti, they don't really encourage you to come out to say it that much. I can't really tell if it was a problem of embarrassment or it was supposed to protect the girl's innocence in some way. You know, there's something beautiful about being innocent that people really don't know that you are mature now, you know, so they just leave you as a girl. So there is that aspect of it. And then in some cultures, the same in this country, they will parade you in town for the chiefs and everybody to know that you've reached your puberty.
Yeah.
So there are lots of reasons. It's pride, honestly. And then they will do it. Okay, now there are all these human rights advocates against it. But before, they would willingly do it. Parade without bare-chested and they have all these things around them. And then, bees, congratulations, welcome to life. You're now birth. You're now alive and all that. And then some societies don't even allow it at all. Come in.
Talking about the sciences, not really it's embarrassing. But the thing is, if you menstruate, they see you as a mature person. Now, it's a transition. In our country, you believe that it's a transition from childhood to adulthood, right? Yeah. So they will expose you to the world that you are mature to marry. You get it?
Okay.
Yeah, you're mature to marry. Then they'll perform those puberty rites and select a guy for you. In their belief, they said the gods have chosen. You get it? Why it becomes a problem? When you sleep with a man and you didn't perform that puberty rite and you sleep with a man, that means it's a debt to you and the gods of the land. They see it as a debt. So this embarrassment comes in when you sleep with a man without performing that puberty rite, and when that puberty rite performed, it is leading you to marriage.
Yeah.
That's how people
Thank
say
you.
you can't marry early.
Thank you very much, Emma. Yeah, so I think we've heard from across a couple of countries, and it's quite something. There's a cultural element in there.
Yeah.
In terms of the stereotypes, even when you were reciting the poem, you mentioned the dirty, unclean. You know, these are like words that are really associated with menstruation. And I believe it's one of the reasons why there's a silence around it, right? So today I was reading around, and I was in a conversation 2 days ago, and we spoke about how culture, society, and religion has found a way of shrouding menstruation with secrecy and this element of uncleanliness and it being dirty and all that. And so I think maybe we should just discuss a little around this area. Why that perception? We know from the scriptures that the Bible tells us in Leviticus chapter 11 about in the Old Testament how ladies in their menses had to be separated for 7 days, and in another area if a man touches a lady in a menstruation, he's unclean for the rest of the day. And if he sleeps with a lady during her menses, then he's unclean for the 7 days. He has to be purified for 7 days, you know. But in the New Testament, we see how Jesus interacted with a woman who had an issue of blood. So if we were to say that menstruation, which is the shedding of blood from the vagina, and this woman also had an issue of blood, and Jesus interacted with this woman, and when the Pharisees confronted him, what he said was that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Right. So it just tells what Jesus was telling us is that in the New Testament, and we see it all through the scriptures in the New Testament, Apostle Paul's messages and all that, that the New Testament is a life of faith, right? As in the letter killeth, the spirit gives life. So the New Testament sort of takes us away from that element of the law, kind of the limits of the law and all that, into a place of grace. And I think that's where it's hard for a lot of people to accept. It's like we are choosy about what to accept in terms of, but it would be good to hear from everyone here in terms of because religion is one of the areas that's sort of placing a barrier on open speaking about menstruation, right? So the floor is open now.
I think, can I come in?
Yeah, Kaka, please.
I think very often we are quick to say that why do we not talk about menses when we actually should probably consider if there is an audience to listen. There are people who are willing to talk about menses. Are there people to listen? It's not the same. Very often we try to say like people don't talk about menses. People are talking about menses every time. Your wife is talking about her period. You can see it in her mood. Your female colleagues are expressing it, even in the silence. But are we listening? Do we hear the signs? So I don't think it's so much of whether people are talking about it or not. Then there's the content of religion and culture. Even through religion and culture, we are still talking about menses. But are people listening? Do people even care to know what is going on around them? No offense to the gentleman who came in to say he has no idea what we are talking about here today. I'm guessing he has sisters, he has wives, he has colleagues. They have told him about menses in so many ways, but he didn't see it. He didn't hear it. So the menstrual conversation is going on. Because we didn't say we are talking to you about menses, he didn't know we were screaming that we have cramps.
Okay.
The conversation is going on, but we do not have an accepting audience for it. And I always say that it's got nothing to do with religion or culture. Religion and culture has been in existence as far back as periods. So what's the difference now? Why is it that they didn't talk about it now? We are talking about it now. Religion and culture has been there prehistory. So it's menses with Eve. So then culture, religion, and menses, I don't really see the nexus, but people try to put them together. No, they are three different elements. And so far as we talk about menses and we acknowledge religion, it's the same for menses, just that people are not listening when we talk about it. And this is just my fair opinion about the subject. I want to hear what other people have.
It's interesting. So what you're saying is that it's not the communication is not necessarily even about words. but
No,
everything
if
around
you
is
see a woman, you see menses. Come on. This is, we live it from age 9 to God knows 50. So
okay.
how else should we tell you? I mean, this is the only way we reproduce. How else should we wear a shirt and say, I menstruate every month? We are menses. Come on. So
Okay.
it's offensive that we are supposed to hold a comfort and explain what it is when you sleep with us and you eat with us and you work with us and our mood swings are everywhere. So no, we should stop saying that we are not talking about menses and we should say, are we listening when we talk about menses? That's just my contribution.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes, who's gonna go up? Barbara, you're welcome. Let's hear you.
I'm trying to, to just put my mind together. I heard you were talking about religion, like what the Bible said about menses. You talked about the woman with an issue of blood, how Jesus was able to interact with her. Yes, while others were mocking and criticizing that event. And I would also want to talk about it in the Old Testament. When a woman is on a period, yes, they are considered to be unclean. And if the man meets that woman, he was equally unclean. But let's bring it to today. What is society saying about menses? I love the point. I just didn't pick a name. She said that when you see women, you see menses. As women, every man knows that we have our periods, right?
Maybe not every. I do, but I'm not sure if it's every man though. But I think most people should have a fair idea.
Yeah, there are those that like for me, it's not every month that I usually have them. Sometimes I may skip a month, I may skip two, but I know I didn't meet anyone, so I'll consider myself I'm safe. If I met someone, I'll say maybe I'm pregnant or something like that. But there are those times where you don't usually get to have your regular menses.
Yeah.
Okay. Your regular menses. But if you know that you didn't meet anyone, you know to say you're on the safe side. But if you met someone, you know to say at this point, I think I'm pregnant. You get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So even the way she even shared a bit of her experience. How was your first experience like? But before then, Davison wanted to share his first encounter with menstruation. Not that he menstruated, but his first encounter. Yeah, Davison.
Okay, so what actually happened was there was this girl, a school girl. After she came back from school, I don't think she was aware that thing was to happen. So she visit actually. She was seated on a couch with a friend, and then it suddenly happened that she found up and bled. And I was actually shocked. I was scared, and I thought to myself, yeah, there was blood all over and stuff, and the couch was dirty like that. Then I thought, what actually is happening? Is she hurt? And stuff like that. I was so nervous and stuff. And to me, I felt on the men, on women going, attending period. Men should also be taught, because sometimes men are left alone with girl children like that. And if we were to say, actually, when this happens, this is what actually is on the part of culture, and I think there is a barrier to it. That's what I think. Because my first experience.
Yo, Davison, we are experiencing breakages in your. But I think we've gotten what you're saying about your first encounter. A schoolgirl visited or came around, and then you saw the stain. She sat, and then there was blood on the couch, and this is something that really happens a lot, right? So lots of ladies experience this sometimes in school, and that's where they have the embarrassment. But let's hear some of the experiences here. Those who are willing to share your first menstrual experience, the menarche.
I think my first ever encounter, it was not my personal one, but it just came to my mind now. I was in school in grade 5, which is standard 3, right? And I think I was probably like 11 or 12 at the time, around there. And I remember it was in the afternoon. So this one girl, she got up and she didn't realize that she was menstruating. We were also shocked. And I remember there were some girls, and again, it goes also just to, I don't necessarily want to say culture, but perhaps a lack of education, I would say. And this one girl said, this girl is leaking. And I remember, like, that was uncomfortable to see and uncomfortable to hear this girl say that. And there was, I remember the way she walked out. She was so, I want to say maybe ashamed or embarrassed between those two. And that was my first encounter with it. And my first personal one, I remember, I was playing with other kids in the street, and I felt like some unusual discomfort in my vagina, and I went to the toilet. When I got there, I saw like a stain, an unusual stain on my panties, and I called my mom. And because I didn't understand what's going on. And when she saw that, she was like, now you are grown, you cannot play with boys.
Wow.
And I remember that didn't sit well with me. It was actually traumatizing that, okay, because of this thing now I can't play. Basically, I can't live my life the way I've been living my life. So, and I remember like she had to quickly go and get a pad, and she actually asked me to wash myself, and then she put the pad in my panties, and I had to wear that, walk around with it. It was uncomfortable. And I had to sit in the house, and shame it wasn't nice. And I remember going through all of this in my mind of what's happening to me. Like now I felt like this was altering my life, and I was thinking to myself, oh, so whenever I saw a woman, I was like, oh, is this also happening to her? Is this also happening to Oprah Winfrey? So those were the things that were going on in my mind. And I do think education around this thing, around menstruation, let me not say this thing, around menstruation is important. And the reason I say that, in high school, it happened to me that I wasn't aware that I was on my periods. At the time, I couldn't tell the signs yet when I'm on my way. So I remember it was after school. At school, we wear turquoise or blue skirts. And this one girl, it was after school, we were walking, so it's a lot of students. So this one girl, she comes and taps me and tells me, oh, I think you've just had your period. And my face just went like, because I turned my skirt around and it was a mess. And one of my classmates, he was a guy, what he did, he took off his top and asked me to cover myself with it. And we walked, nice. I remember it was nice, but it felt, I cannot tell you how it felt. I just wanted to be swallowed by the ground, because I've been walking in front of people like this unknowingly. But I do think it's important that boys are taught about this from a young age, especially now that you mentioned that even girls from the ages of 9 and 10 get it. You understand? These girls, they still play in the street. You understand? So it's important that boys are educated on this, so that when they see it, it's not a shocker. That they are actually, they can become helpful. You understand? So like, that's my piece of cake to this. So that's my contribution to it.
That's great.
Yes. So I particularly wanted to share because mine was very different. I was a late bloomer, which means I didn't have my period until I think I was 14 or 15. And this meant that I was in 10th grade. So because by then I had already learned the biologies and things like that, I fully understood. I was anticipating, anxious, like, when am I going to get my period? Why isn't my period coming?
when I first had.
Yeah, those getting interested. Yeah. So like I'm anticipating it, you know. So like so this like a contrast where there's a surprise element in Genevieve's case, and you're not aware, and this thing just comes, and you're like, what's happening to me? And some people even think it's blood cancer, like the way Davison was so surprised to see it. And then in Annie's case, she was actually expecting it. Like, I'm waiting for this to come, you know, with expectation and joy. Annie, are you back?
Can I try to can I share mine?
Yes, please. Come on, yeah.
All right. For me, my story is similar, but I wasn't anticipating, I had little knowledge. I actually had no knowledge at all on menses. When I was at 15, that's when I actually started my menses. At that time, I remember we had there was a birthday party for an auntie of mine at home. So before that birthday party, auntie had kicked me on my bum, So that day when I saw blood coming out, I was like, auntie, you know where you kicked me? Some blood is coming out, like some blood is coming. I was not oriented, I had no information. I know there was a time auntie mentioned something like, you grow up soon, you grow up, you'll see what it means to be a girl. You see what it actually means. But I didn't get that until that time when I saw my first period. So I was like, auntie, well, you remember you kicked me some few days ago? And she was like, yes, I did. I can there's some blood that is coming out. And then she was like, she pulled me away from the crowd.
Yeah.
And then she was like, you've grown up, you're now a lady. I was like, what do you mean? I didn't understand. And then she sat me down. All of a sudden, I was isolated from every other child. I became a special case. I was seated with my aunt for the first time. It was the two of us on my bed. We are talking. And she's telling me to say, at this stage now, you're not supposed to sleep with a man, with any guy. You get pregnant. You should stop climbing those trees because the pads may fall and all those stuff. So I was like, what is going on? And then she actually introduced me to pads. So these are pads. This is what you use when you start your menses. You'll be using this every month. You'll be like this your entire life. And I was like, okay. I mean,
Sounds like
this is like robbing away my freedom, my freedom of playing. Like I became like I felt like something has been taken away from me. I felt like my freedom of climbing trees is gone. My freedom of playing with boys is gone because I was that kid that used to enjoy the company of guys. And now I'm told you can no longer mingle or associate with guys.
Yeah.
That was I'm being stigmatized and all that.
Wow.
So basically that was about my
Your
first
experience.
period.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank
I
you
had
so
now
much
to
for
adapt
sharing.
to a new life.
Let's hear from Kakra.
Okay. I personally it's when they get because I think I have the same. I don't think it's embarrassing to have your first menses, but it's the way they go about it. Like she said, yeah, this special child, and all of a sudden they're telling you all the things you can do and you can't do.
Yeah.
And they make it a bit too extra. So when I have a twin sister, and she had hers a couple of months before, so I was expecting to have mine.
Okay.
So then when he came, I'm like, oh, it's a scam. And then, for some reason, your mom won't talk to you, but your auntie will talk to you.
Amazing.
And then there's this traditional egg and food you have to eat, and they take you to the room. Your father will come and say, congratulations, and your big sisters will come and say, so they make it a bit, that's the embarrassing part of it. If they had, if probably had did it, okay, that's okay, you have your menses, go on with your life and climb your trees. It won't be that traumatic. Yes. So then everybody has that first experience. So today I visited some schools and the kids were sharing their first menses, and then some of them were shy, some of them were scared, and it's the same thing that surrounds it. Their grandmothers made a fuss about it, you know, don't play with boys, sit down. Now you have to drink this amount of water, eat this amount of food. And then that period or that moment that you sit down and go like, okay, like, you know, like I was saying, Genevieve was saying, this, I'm missing something. And you keep thinking, is this the same thing everybody is going through? So I've always made myself that promise that the day my daughter comes to say, Mommy, I've had my period, I'm like, go girl. Go live your life as if nothing happened. Exactly, because always these aunties have a way of attaching some drama to it that makes you feel a bit, you know. So yeah, I think that's the common thing every girl in this generation has. That is, if your grandmother or your auntie had to talk to you about your first menses, that is just my personal experience.
There's something there. Okay, so we need to hear this in French. Petro.
Yeah, je voudrais un peu rentrer à cette question de pourquoi ne parlons-nous pas des périodes si librement. Tout le monde a donné ses raisons. Il y a des raisons qui sont religieuses, des raisons liées à la société. Il y a aussi des raisons qui sont personnelles aussi. Et dans mon cas, c'est un peu plus personnel. Pour moi, à mon cas, un peu personnel. Ce n'est ni la religion, ni la société, même pas la culture. C'est juste une raison de... la question est que non, ça implique des parties intimes que nous trouvons un peu difficile d'en parler. Et du coup, c'est un peu ça, c'est un peu tous ces tabous qui viennent. C'est un peu ça mon cas à moi. Je me sens un peu gêné, d'en parler. Et aussi, c'était si touchant d'entendre les témoignages de nos sœurs qui ont parlé tour à tour. Et ce qui était commun dans leurs témoignages, c'est que il y avait ce manque de connaissances sur comment ils devaient réagir à cette nouvelle réalité qu'elle venait de commencer à observer. C'est un peu ça. Et aussi, une chose importante, c'est qu'il y a tant les filles que les garçons sont dans les mêmes cas. Ils doivent tous être éduqués sur cette question et bien être informés. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. I think it was nice. So I think this conversation has been really interesting, having to hear all these experiences from different, you know, people and about deciding whether to use pads. I think it was Genevieve, you mentioned that your mom just put a pad on the panty and then you wore it. So at what point do you get to decide whether you're going to use a pad or a tampon? Of course, I know there are price elements to this, but I think generally we usually hear about pads, but the tampon and then the caps are not very popular. They pop up here and there, but it's not something I think, I don't know, when we are talking to younger ones and we're encouraging them to, in terms of menstrual hygiene and menstrual health, which one do you think we should encourage them to go for? Is there any is there like a preference? Is there something, you are the ones who have used it.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, I'll say I feel that a pad is the more, it's I don't want to say safest, but I feel the the easiest, or it's easily accessible. Now I've tried the one option once, and I think why it didn't work, I tried a tampon. I think why it didn't work was because already in my mind I was like, I'm not prepared to walk with a foreign object inside of me. So that's how I felt about it. So I've not tried other options. I am considering the menstrual cup, but then I also think, how does that, how does it feel? You understand? So that's a mental thing. I think it's important, however, that the younger ones, that we tell them about the different options, and that we are they actually try it out and find the one that they feel comfortable with, instead of like just making available the pad only. So yeah, for me, that's from my side.
From the side.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to go?
Yeah. So this whole week has been a very busy week for my NGO, because we've been talking menstrual materials and all that. And somewhere in Africa, some NGOs decided to distribute reusable pads. And these are the washable ones, the cloth that you can wash, like the sewn ones.
Yeah.
And then some of these girls, or these community girls, come up and say they do not want to use the reusable pads because they don't have access to water. So then it defeats the purpose. The plan is to use the pad, go home, wash it and dry it. But then they don't have access to water. So then in the end, we are calling for infections for them. And then sometimes they don't even have access to enough sunlight. So they are tempted to wear it moist the next day for their menses. So then reusable pads in some communities in Ghana, it's a no-no. The girls won't take it. The disposable pads are affordable or easily accessible, meaning after you throw them away. But then if you come from a place where your economic stability is not strong, obviously you can't afford it every month. So then today, for instance, some of the girls confess that they use in between the pad, the tissue, and the cloth. So when they start the menses and it's heavy, and their home is a weekend, they use the cloth. If they have to go to school and it's not that heavy, they use the tissue. And if they have to go somewhere and it's heavy, they have to use a pad. It just depends on your economic stance. But in some international schools that we visited, we realized that the girls were using tampons and the menstrual cups. So I agree with Genevieve, when I mean, how do you walk around with something in your vagina the whole time? It just doesn't sit right, But it's also, okay, now the menstrual cups are the most expensive menstrual materials in Ghana. It goes for 100 cedis per cup. How many people can afford it?
Which one is
we
that?
had a doctor
Is it
the menstrual cup, the one?
The cup. Okay, yeah, the cup.
Yes, the cup. You insert it and then yes. A doctor on our show, and he was advising that for teenage girls, he doesn't advise they use anything or insert anything into their vaginas until they are old enough. You don't want a 10-year-old inserting tampons or cups in her vagina 7 times a month. So then we should just limit them to the menstrual parts until they are old enough and they understand infections and consequences of inserting things in and out of your vagina. So menstrual materials are actually available, reusable, non-reusable pads. We have a traditional history of the cloth. 3 days ago, I was reading an article that said they can't remember when pads came into existence, but people really didn't document what women used to use before. So it was either free bleeding or the traditional way that has always been the cloth across the African continent. Yes. So now we've modified the cloth into a reusable pad, and then we have the disposable one, and then there's the luxury one, that is the tampon and the menstrual cup, which I said with Genevieve that I may not have to try it because I don't want anything, Yes, but menstrual materials, some of them are accessible, some of them are economically available, but some of them are just not within the reach of some girls within the African or the Ghanaian community. Yes. I personally started off on tissue. My family background wasn't that great from the beginning. So my first menses all through maybe 2-3 years, I had to learn how to use the tissue and sometimes the cloth until things got better and now I can have access to pads. So yes, that's just
that's amazing. It's interesting because
Hi.
Speaking of,
I think I have a question.
Okay.
Concerning the tampons, don't they break a teenage virginity?
No, they don't.
They don't. Okay.
They don't. Yes, they don't.
But maybe
it's a roll. No, it's actually a roll of soft gauze or cotton. Consider it like that. I don't have a sample here. So it's about maybe this long, and it has a thread. So you shove it up in your vagina and you leave the thread hanging. So it goes in tiny, and then the more it soaks blood, the puffer it gets. So then you will feel that there's this comfort in your vagina because it will puff up, into the vagina. So you hold the thread and you pull it out. So a friend had experienced that whatever happened, she lost the thread and she had to put her hand in her vagina to pull her tampon out. So there's all this uncomfort things that comes around, the tampons and the caps and all that. And the way the cap works is like a funnel. You insert it into your vagina. It goes up into your cervix, and then it collects the blood. Then you're supposed to yank it out and dispose of the blood and shove it back in. So there's all this, uncomfort things that goes on with these two things. But mostly people just resort to the traditional disposable parts, and we are good to go. Yeah.
Petra was asking how safe it was, the cup and the tampon.
Okay, I don't know what happened to her, but can I comment on that?
Yes, you can.
I think it's fairly safe because I do have friends that use it and they've never had any problems. However, just like even a pad also, like if you keep it too long, you don't change it, there's the risk of infection. If you are like, you constantly have to change it, especially the what do you call it, the tampon, because it's inside of you. Yeah. So you have to constantly change that, because what happens also sometimes, there's a girl that it happened to where she didn't change it, and she had to go to the doctor for the doctor to remove it because it got like, I don't want to say lost in it, but stuck. She couldn't get it out.
No, she couldn't get it out.
Yes. So and also, I don't know, like sitting and movement, I don't know if that has an impact on it. So it's it's also something that I was wondering, that I want to know if it has an effect.
Probably on the thread. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So I think we've said a lot. So it appears from what we've said that the pads are the most common or the most accessible that everybody's using. And I read recently, and it's like the pads take almost 500 years to decompose, the average pad, meaning that it's not a sustainable way. We are talking about sustainable development here. And it's if these things look at the number of women we have in the world, and if every woman every month is using like 5, in a day you can even change like twice or thrice, depending on the flow, and you're using it for 5 to 7 days, and you dispose it, and it will take 500 years for it to decompose, then we're in trouble. So Kaka was talking about the reusable parts that in certain areas it's not really acceptable, or because they don't have access to water. But it looks like, because the cloth has been something that was being used even before the disposable parts came. Sarah is somebody who is producing reusable parts in Nigeria, Alora parts. So I would like her to just share from a perspective how the reusable parts are contributing or will contribute to the sustainability agenda in light of disposing of used menstrual pads. So Sarah, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. And she was having internet challenges, but I think we can discuss it if she comes. So reusable pads. You mentioned that, you had interaction this week, because I knew this week you guys were also having lots of engagement. So probably it's in somewhere in the north, and they were not having access to regular access to water. So because of that, they didn't want to use the reusable pads, I believe. But then I think I was discussing with you, it takes 500 years. Yeah, welcome. It takes close to 500 years for an average disposable pad to decompose. So then what's the sustainable avenue? It sounds like reusable pads is a way to go. Even though Sarah is here, it looks like she can't hear me, but we can start the conversation around reusable pads. Yeah.
Reusable pads will be the way to go if we can provide access to everybody. Also, we can't preach it. Aside the water is the need for soaps,
Mm-hmm.
And then in times where sometimes and they don't have access to electricity to hot or iron press these reusable pads, then like they said, they were right when they said they use them and they get rashes and infections. So they wouldn't use it. So ideally, you think disposable. So you put it in, you bring it out, you pour the blood out, you set it back in, and then the sustainability of the lifespan of the reusable cup is 10 years. I don't know if you want to put the same thing in your vagina for 10 years, but that's what the advert says. But somewhere in Kenya, we have women embarking on biodegradable pads using banana and plantain fibers.
Okay.
And I wish the whole of Africa will get involved in the research. And because I think every African country has banana and plantain fibers. And then in our own way, start thinking of how we can convey or
process it into,
modify these fibers, and these are natural. Exactly. So the meaning after it's back in the ground, they decompose and it goes back into the soil. Because the average lifespan or it takes much longer for a sanitary towel to decompose than a human corpse. So meaning my grandfather's or my grandmother's sanitary pad is still somewhere in the ground. So I can only imagine how long ago before mine. Yes. So then we should look towards a way of researching and investing in biodegradable pads. The reusable pads, unless we say we can supply water to every village and every community in Africa, which will be hard, we can't recommend it. So reusable pads it is, because the menstrual cups are expensive and not a lot of people can handle, the comfort of putting things in and out of the vagina. So menstrual sustainability is a very key thing, especially if you want to consider the climate effect of decomposing of menstrual pads. So that's just my contribution.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, let's hear from others. Annie, Gina, you're welcome. Let's hear from you. What do you have to say on this subject?
Hi.
Hi.
I've been on it for a while. It's noisy here because I'm on the road. And It's been an interesting conversation, and I'm really glad a lot of ladies and young people and older women are out there talking about it. But I'll just pop in with the reusable pads the lady was talking about, because that's where the conversation is at the moment. With the reusable pads, I don't know about everybody, but I don't think it's everybody who likes the sight of their own blood. So if the reusable pad is the way to go and it involves washing, how comfortable will a lot of people want to do that? I don't know. So I heard the talk of the banana and plantain stuff, which I think maybe they should be looking into that, because I, for one, like I said, I'm not comfortable seeing my blood and talk of washing it every day. So maybe it's a good thing, because it's not going to cause pollution to the environment. But I think maybe we can do more research and stuff. So that's the bit I want to add. Because when we are looking at the way forward, we are looking at both convenient and people trying to embrace it wholly, and the person. So that's what I will add.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very educative conversation.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so any other person? I think what she's also saying is because it's not everybody who would want to. With the reusable part, I wish Sarah was here to describe, because she's gone into wholesale production of reusable parts in Nigeria, and hers has 3 layers. She described all the components of it, and it looks like you could use it between 2 to 3 years. And so she was even showing me how to the washing. When you use it, you just put it in the water, you take it off, put it in the water, and the blood will come off. Then you throw that water away. Then now you actually wash. So you don't get to action on it right when you just put in the water and you just start washing it with the blood like that. You just put it in the water for some time, the blood will come off it. You throw that water away before you engage in washing. So hopefully she will join us, and then she'll be able to. But this is where we are now, and it looks like you're saying, either the reusable cups, as like the moon cup, or the reusable parts are the way to go. There's a bit. Annie, who is speaking now? Okay, so we are nearing towards the end of our time. I want us to talk about fibroids and we cannot really exhaust it entirely, but just to touch on it a little. We know that in Genevieve, yeah, you have your hand up.
Yes, before we move to the fibroids, recently I went to a launch, a woman launched a reusable pad thing. I haven't tried it, but I have a sample of it. It's actually made here in Kayamandi, where I live in Stellenbosch.
Okay.
I haven't gone to see the place. I was only at the launch, and this is what it looks like. So
is that the front or the back?
This is the part that needs to be on your vagina. This is just the part that goes on the, yes, this goes on the panty, and it's clipped
like that
around your panty like this. And so she explained that it's made of bamboo inside, and it quickly dries.
Okay.
And it's actually it's soft. I haven't tried it, as I said. Maybe next month. But I just to comment on the, yeah, I was also a bit grossed out about, you know, having to wash my own blood or whatever. But I think, as you had mentioned, that you can soak it, because also period blood, when you kind of take care of it sooner, then it quickly kind of leaves the fabric. You don't even have to go washing and stuff. You can just, you can just soak it. And then another point that I wanted to kind of touch on, I think with the biodegradable option would be really nice. And with the, I think another thing that makes me a little bit, or that concerns me about the disposable pads is, you know, blood is a body fluid, right? And if you go to hospitals, like, there's a certain way to dispose of that, right? Now with pads and stuff, because it's a body fluid, aren't there any like health risks? Because we don't have specific bins. You only get those like at certain institutions where there's a specific bin just for pads. But at home, you dispose of it with the normal rubbish and stuff. So like, I have a concern around that, the mere fact that it's a bodily fluid, like, you understand? So yeah.
You know, in Ghana, today we launched our campaign.
Can I come in?
Oh, yeah, just right after what I was just about saying about the disposal. Today we launched a campaign here in Ghana, and a woman was just drawing our attention to the whole thing that usually when you dispose of, because of the Sakawa boys, you know, all those who are into ritual money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she was sort of trying to tell the ladies to wrap the pad in a paper or something before they dispose it off, so that it's not easy to locate, kind of thing. Kaka.
Okay, I'm going to use my experience again from a girls' school.
Okay.
And I have something we call incinerators. So it is this big bin that has like an incinerator at the top, and that is where we dump our menstrual pads. Because we used to have people pretend to be mad people come into our bins and to pick the used parts up for rituals or whatever myth that surrounds it. So then yesterday, as part of our conversations and 3 days ago, we figured that it's going to be a while whilst we research into biodegradable and even implement it. Communities should build incinerators. And then these incinerators it's a place where they use some special chemicals, like Genevieve was saying, to handle body fluids. So then it melts and it burns quickly, that it doesn't, the fuels or that the smoke that comes of it out doesn't affect climate as much as if you have to dig and pull the parts into the ground, because these are body fluids and it might take a while. Yes. So then in my girls' school and most girls' schools in Ghana, for instance, we have incinerators, and these are big dumping places just for menstrual pads. So like you said, we have bins that we put our parts in, and food, and the rest you can just leave them in the other bins. And then every day the incinerator was on fire because every day some girls were menstruating. So then that was how we could just keep up, until we are able to come and accept biodegradable parts as a thing. So there are lots of things about leaving your parts around. Maybe that's the reason why we also grew up understanding you have to dig down and bury it, so that nobody takes it for rituals or whatever. So incinerators are a thing. and they can actually be handmade with clay and all that. So then maybe some schools or communities can have incinerators where they pick up these used parts and then chemically dispose of them whilst we work on getting biodegradable parts. Yes.
Thanks for that. Any other person? So let's hear Eric. We need to have this in French. Monsieur Eric.
Oui, je suis là. D'accord. Donc déjà, on était en train de parler des couches. Les couches, c'est ce qu'on utilise. Les femmes utilisent pour se protéger lors de leur période. Et on était en train de parler de l'importance des couches qu'il faut utiliser. Et ce qui est plus important d'ailleurs, c'est les couches qui sont réutilisables. Voilà, réutilisables. Et ce qui est vraiment fait en Afrique, on venait de parler d'une Nigériane et qui a vraiment mis voilà, cette initiative en place et qui produit des couches qui sont réutilisables. Et les différentes intervenantes aussi ont déjà, en tout cas, parlé sur cette possibilité. C'est une bonne option parce que ça permet vraiment de réutiliser plusieurs fois et en plus, c'est bio et en plus, ça contribue beaucoup à l'hygiène que d'utiliser des couches qui sont utilisables une fois. Et là, voilà, ça contribue aussi à la protection de l'environnement. J'aime vraiment les filles utilisables et voilà, cela va vraiment contribuer énormément à leur santé et la santé des menstrués et vraiment, ça va beaucoup les aider. Donc, voilà. Monsieur Petro, vous voulez ajouter quelque chose?
Yeah, je suis aussi d'accord que nous devons opter pour les serviettes qui sont réutilisables parce que nous devons penser à la nature, à l'environnement et aussi à notre futur. C'est vraiment important. Et je pense que nous devons informer les Africains sur ce sujet. Nous n'en parlons pas aussi souvent parce que nous ne voyons pas les implications de l'utilisation des produits qui ne sont pas décomposables. Donc, c'est ça mon opinion aussi. Merci.
Je vous en prie.
Thank you, guys. Merci beaucoup. In fact, we are unable to exhaust our discussion points, right? So, and it's almost time. We have to be closing. What we're going to do is that, like Kakwa suggested, we are going to make this conversation a continuous one. This is not the end of it, right? So, this same team, we're going to have several conversations around menstruation, and we would have to decide whether we'll do this monthly. Every month we talk about it. We just meet once and just discuss issues on menstruation. So we'll call ourselves the menstruation group or the period team.
Why not? Why not? Because I think it's also, as much as it happens to me, but there are also things I'm learning as well. Because just because something is happening to you doesn't mean that you know everything about it.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm for it.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of things we need to explore and chat about. You see, today what we did was we touched on a lot of issues around menstruation. We're supposed to have a chat around sex during menstruation, but unfortunately we've not even touched on it. And then also about fibroids, because it's related. And in Africa, we know that 8 out of 10 ladies experience fibroid. I mean, it's something we also need to talk about and understand how, what are the signs, what shows if it's coming, and to just like breast cancer and all these other things, to understand it so that we'll be able to educate ourselves and then educate others too. So we're just saying that we're going to have this conversation again. We've exhausted our time. So we're going to have it as a running conversation every month. So let's have your closing remarks. Annie.
So just very quickly, I've enjoyed the talk, though I'm still very, thirsty for like more talks and more, because the talk is just so nice. Just listening from everyone else. You think you know it because you feel like, I'm a woman, I know what I know about menstruation, but you listen to another person talk and you're like, wow, this topic is vast. So thank you guys for everything. You guys were great.
Thank you. It was great having you too. Barbara, you're here. Your closing remarks.
I want everyone to say at least one word. Okay,
Okay,
no.
so when you are giving your closing remarks, you just say one word in French. Petro, let's have your closing remarks.
Ok. Yeah, merci beaucoup les amis. Ça a été une intéressante discussion. J'ai beaucoup appris et yeah, je vous remercie pour cela. Et aussi, je voudrais un peu parler du point de la fabrication des serviettes qui sont décomposables, qui sont fabriquées au Kenya. Je pense comme nous sommes panafricains, notre vision est celle de l'Afrique en général. Donc, nous devons, je pense, parler de moyens de trouver comment faire en sorte que les produits qui sont faits, par exemple, au Kenya, arrivent au Ghana facilement, ou en Afrique du Sud aussi facilement. Yeah, c'est un peu ça. And yeah, and also, guys, yeah, I forgot in my introduction to say that I'm working on a book. I'm preparing a book, a poetry book. It's called My First Mosaic. So it's coming out very soon. And yeah, I hope you'll be informed when it comes out. Thank you, guys.
Definitely. Thank you, Petro. Cheers to it, and we're looking forward to reading that wonderful piece. Genevieve, your closing remarks.
Oh, okay. This
Don't forget
really
your French word.
Okay, the pronunciation might be off, but I'll try.
Okay.
So this has really been a good conversation. Like, today I came feeling better than the other day, actually. So I was excited. I still am for the conversations to come. And I just also want to say, for some reason, I feel like I should thank the men in this group for for standing for this thing, man, because I was more like but you were so excited about it. And I remember saying that I'm feeling so cringy about it. You talking about it, or a man talking about it. Also, those are the things that culture has taught, and I sort of like have to unlearn that. So it's been an interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it. I really appreciate everyone's input. And your ladies, you guys did not hold back. So I'm really happy about that. And then my French word, I Googled. So like I said, I will use my language rules to say something in your language. So
Okay.
bonne conversation or something like that. Basically, I want to say great conversation.
Yeah,
so.
bonne conversation.
Ouais,
Yeah,
bonne
that.
conversation.
Woo, awesome.
That.
Okay, so yeah, Nana Danswa.
Hello, I'm back.
Okay, Nana, let's hear Miss Zambia, Barbara, since her network is giving her issue. So Barbara, yeah, your closing remarks.
I would like to say thank you to the knowledge that each one of us were able to share, and I believe it will not be in our community. Teenage girl who literally knows nothing at all concerning menses. On my part, I've really learned a lot, and this will help me to be vocal, not just online, but even to the people that I can see.
Thank you very much, Barbara.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Now, Kakwa, let's have your closing remarks. Then Gina will go, and then we have Laundry Dobie here from Ivory Coast.
It's been a great conversation, and I appreciate all the great minds on the show. This is what Africa is getting towards, that we start talking about things more, and we won't wait for people to tell us what we should say. We'll do our own research and own the stories that we tell. So I look forward to more conversations. Everybody in the team has been amazing, especially Petra with the French accent and Genevieve with her South African accent. Yeah, it's been beautiful. Like there's beauty in diversity. That's basically that. So I look forward to the monthly webinars, and yeah, I'll be happy to join every time. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, merci beaucoup. Nana Danswa is
Yeah.
from the Girl in Lead Initiative.
In
So that's
nature.
also, yeah, that's the shirt she's wearing. GILI, Girl in Lead
Yeah,
Initiative.
Gilly. Yeah.
Gaily, yeah. And they've also been active on the menstrual hygiene and also sensitization on menstruation. Yeah, so it was great having all of you. Gina, let's hear your closing remarks. Then we'll go to Laundry Dobie. Gina.
Hi guys. I think it's been an interesting conversation. I'm in with the lady who said, when the conversation I heard about the type of conversation we're going to have, I was a bit, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, but it's been, I think I had that in my mind for a while, but I think it wasn't that bad at all. So I would say, I mean, it's a way to go. And thank you guys for bringing this up. I think the more we talk about it, the more we learn from each other, and the more it becomes, comfortable talking about it anyway. So, bonne nuit, that's my French word. I hope that's right. Thank you, guys.
Bonne nuit. Laundry Dobie.
Hi, guys.
You're welcome. Closing remarks.
Sorry for being late. I just came from work, and I trace you had a very instructive encounter, and I hope to have some tips from the meeting after.
The video is going to be available. There's loads of information, yeah?
Thank you so much, Joe. So thank you to all the speakers, and that's all. Have a good night.
Thank you, Laundry. Yeah, it was great having you briefly.
You forgot this French word.
Bonne nuit à tout le monde. Voilà.
Bonne nuit.
And the translation for that.
Enjoy your night,
everybody. Yeah, Eric, over to you.
My question is à la prochaine fois. À la prochaine fois. Next time. À la prochaine fois. See you next time.
Okay. Thank you very much. I want to say a big thank you to the Mandela Institute for Development Studies. They hosted us on their platform. My name is Joseph Kwaku, and I'm the chair of the steering committee for Voice1Africa. And it's been a wonderful time. It's been a wonderful conversation. And we're going to have this. We are the Period team. Everybody's go period. Come on, unmute yourself. Period. Yes.
Period.
And that's how we are ending this. Yes. So thank you so much, everyone. And it's been so wonderful having you. We're going to do this again next month. Yes. So thank you so much. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au revoir.